How's it going, everybody? It's Carlos, one of your hosts of the Bring on the Blitz podcast, and I'm joined here every time like I am with Rios. How's it going, Rios?
Pretty good. Man, it's December. Where did the year go by?
Right? And of course, we're joined today by the one and only the Hall of Famer himself, the great John McClain. How are you, John?
I couldn't be better, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Thanks for joining. It's always a pleasure to have John on the show. He comes and hangs out with us and kind of talks, some football. And I think it's been going on for a couple of years now. So we appreciate every time John's here, to get such a great insight from somebody who's done it for so many years. But nonetheless, we're going to talk some Texans, their performance against the Colts, their upcoming bout with the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, and a little bit of college football as well. So all this and more after our intro. Hit it.
Tell them bring on the blitz. 20 of my dogs don't miss. Fourth down and flick of the wrist. And we go for the wrist. Jumping and racing they fist. With Carlos and Pavia and Rios. They bring on the blitz. 20 of my dogs don't miss. Fourth down and flick of the wrist. And we go for the wrist. Jumping and racing they fist. With Carlos and Pavia and Rios. They bring on the blitz.
All right. So we have to play that because it gets us a little bit pumped up right before we start our show. So I love having that on. All right. So Texans showed up with CJ Stroud back at the helm after being set aside for 3 games and Davis Mills starting for the Texans. He held it down, I guess, for 3 games. Rios, I want to shed some light. What did you think of CJ's performance coming back from the concussion protocol against the Colts?
He got off to a pretty shaky start, which, again, he's missed almost a month of football. So, undoubtedly there's a little bit of rest. It was a little nerve-wracking to watch at first, but he was able to turn it around and put on, I feel like, a solid, C-plus performance. Did enough for them to get the W.
All right. John, what did you think of CJ's performance coming back from the concussion protocol against the Colts?
I thought a C plus would be a very good grade for him. He started slow. He was real good on third down, but he missed some receivers that you don't think he would ever miss had he been there all season. Anytime you miss that much, unless your name's Joe Burrow, you're going to struggle at first and have some cobwebs to knock off, and he did. It's too bad this offense has been such a disappointment this season. If they just averaged 21 points a game, they would be 10-2 right now.
Okay.
Just 21 stinking points. And I know the offense is, yes, they've won 4 in a row. The line is starting the same lineman now, 4 games in a row. They cut Lakin Tomlinson today. And they put the guy in the starting lineup from the first mini camp, left him in there. He was terrible, but he's another bad Nick Caserio move in the offensive line. And then he's been inactive and they cut him. And hopefully these guys can stay healthy because they've improved as pass protectors. The run blocking is still woefully inconsistent. And I think in off season, they need to get a legitimate running back. They're not going to be in a position to draft Jeremiah Love, the best running back in college football from Notre Dame. He would be fantastic, but they've got to get another running back to help the running game. And I love Woody Marks, but Nick Chubb will be gone, and that's a position that they'll have to turn some attention to. But Stroud had Nico Collins playing very well. Jaden Higgins is improving as the season is worn on, so I expect Stroud to be better at Arrowhead Stadium because he's familiar with Arrowhead Stadium as the Texans try to win there for the first time since 2019.
Yeah, one point that you brought out is the improvement of Jaden Higgins. He's come up more. He's been more available receiving. I started seeing it more when Davis Mills started over CJ. Like he was a viable option. At this point, and it seemed like at first, there's no Higgins in the lineup. Like, what's going on? I mean, he was there, but it was like he wasn't getting almost any receptions, if any. Same thing with Jalen Noel and then Christian Kirk. Like, you had these receivers, but it just seemed like the ball wasn't getting to them as much. It was like Nico, which is fine. That's the guy that you want to get. But eventually, teams are going to read that. They're gonna okay, they're going to cover Nico. Who else do you throw the ball to? And then now you've seen more of Jaden Higgins. So I'm like you, I'm expecting to see more Jaden Higgins coming up against the Chiefs, and that's that's something that's going to help him out. What are you thinking about? I think the Chiefs are coming in. They're going to start, I think, 3 different offensive linemen, if I'm not mistaken.
3 backups.
3 backups. Thank you. 3 backups, and against this Texans front that's just been dominating quarterbacks left and right. Where do you think the Texans' chances are defensively against the starting offense of the Chiefs? And what has been going on with the Chiefs?
Well, first of all, the Texans are number 1 in defense. They're number 1 in fewest points.
Yep.
And 9 times this year they've allowed fewer than 20 points, and that's amazing. That's the most in the league. But what the defense hasn't done, it'd be nice if it could score a few touchdowns, since touchdowns are few and far between for this offense, which is still next to last in red zone offense ahead of the Saints. That is utterly pathetic. It's inexcusable with the players they have on this team. I blame a lot of it on Nick Caley's play calling, those 1-yard or no-yard gains up the middle. Now he's got tush push with the tight end taking the snap and 2 running backs behind him trying to push him instead of gargantuan linemen like every other team that does it. And it worked the first 2 times, last 2 times it didn't. Sometimes Caley's play calling drives me crazy. But won the game when he had a great call, the reverse to Nico Collins. He picked up good blocking. They scored. But unless they played a really bad injury-plagued defense like they did against Baltimore and San Francisco, or they have to stage a miraculous rally the way they did against Jacksonville, this offense has been so inconsistent. So you like to say, boy, go to Kansas City, have a pick 6 or a strip sack return for a touchdown, maybe get something from Jalen Noel on the return, have contributions from the defense and special teams from a scoring standpoint, because I don't think this offense is going to score much against Steve Spagnuolo's coach defense. They're very familiar with him. Stroud's familiar with him. They lost that playoff game by 1 score. So I'm really looking forward to this game like I was really looking forward to the Colts. And it was a tremendous accomplishment to beat the Colts and keep their running game to fewer than 100 yards.
Yeah, they did hold down Taylor for less than 100. That was very impressive from them. Another thing is with CJ Stroud that I noticed, because I know you're talking about the offense and Nick Caley's offense a little bit there. I've noticed that when I compare him to Davis Mills, and by no means am I saying start Davis over CJ. I'm just noting something that I saw. Was that real?
Don't open that can of worms.
No, and one of the things that I've noticed is that I felt like Davis Mills, when it comes to the progressions, Davis Mills is a lot more decisive than CJ is, and kind of throws it to it's almost like he knows who to throw it to. And I'm not sure if it's maybe the offensive line meshing together, because I don't see him take as many sacks as CJ was at the very beginning. But I know that he's always got a target. Inaccurate, yes, but he's always got somebody in mind to throw the ball to. Now, do you think it's maybe CJ holding on the ball a little longer than he should, or is it just maybe Davis Mills knows exactly where to throw the ball to?
Well, first of all, if Mills had been playing at the first of the year when this offensive line was pathetic, he'd have been getting hit a lot, sacked a lot, and throwing a lot of bad passes. Mills is very smooth. He has so much more experience. He's a very smart guy. You don't see him taking deep losses on sacks. He's just very smart about the game, where Stroud is so much more talented as a quarterback, and he runs better, and he's supposed to sit there and go through his progressions. But what Stroud can do that Mills couldn't, you don't see Mills getting flushed out of the pocket and making a lot of throws. He's better inside the pocket where Stroud can move. He had one against Indy where he was on his run to the right and threw a perfect pass down the sideline. And I think Stroud, if he can stay healthy, that he's going to finish strong. This team is in great position to win that last game here against Indy and maybe win the division for a third consecutive year. But Davis Mills, and is very smart of Nick Caserio to sign him to another extension. He's under contract next year. And I hear some people go, man, they could trade him for a better pick. Well, why in the world would you want to trade him? This is a great example. Who would be the backup? Mertz? Give me a break. You don't trade Davis Mills because you may need him in the same situation, and he did his job.
Yeah, he did his job for 3 straight games, and he held the line down. He did what he had to do to make sure he extended third downs that were key. I want to say in one of those games that he played, and it was, he extended drives that needed to be extended and ended up getting the win. I felt like I was comfortable with Davis Mills as a backup quarterback. So I agree with you 100% when you said I hear people say the same thing. Trade him. You could get something for him, but a backup quarterback like Davis Mills is essential for this type of team.
It's in the value.
Exactly. Rios, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, look at what the Eagles, when they won the Super Bowl the first time, it was the backup quarterback that led them to a victory over Tom Brady. It shows how important the backup quarterback position is. I don't know. A lot of people were like, oh, it's just the backup. You never know when your number is going to get called up. And just remember, Tom Brady started as a backup, and I think he had an okay career.
Yeah, right. I would say he's a pretty successful career that Tom Brady had. All right. Another thing I want to talk about is so back to the defense, like the lowest points the Colts have scored in a game this year, which has been 16 that the Texans held them down to. They've held 10 different opponents to 20 or fewer points, the most in the NFL. And the Texans also took back the number 1 scoring defense from the Rams. And the only thing is funny because there's there's things that you can say about the defense. I was listening to sports radio and they were talking about how the Texans defense gives up, I think, the most explosive plays in the league. And you do see some of those because it's out of nowhere. It's like, Rios and I, when you and I were watching, we were texting back and forth like a play that couldn't have that shouldn't have been made. It was made, but it almost sounds weird because you're critiquing such an elite defense.
Yeah, it feels weird whenever we like, man, I can't believe they have that, that big play, but then, it's like the first one is like in 5 games. So it's like, I think when you're that great, you find little things just to critique is because you're just so used to just give them the flowers.
Yeah.
Well, they're still bad in red zone defense. They're not as awful as the offense is, which is number 31. But they still, if you get down there, teams are scoring touchdowns. The key is they're not getting down there. They're not scoring many touchdowns. I like to say they've allowed fewer than 20 points 9 times instead of 20 10. Or fewer 10 times, because less than 20 looks a lot better. And I think Denver leads in games 15 or fewer points. Those, to me, are the 2 best defenses in the AFC by far. Rams got a really good defense, although Carolina made that defense look terrible on Sunday in that upset victory when they forced Stafford into 3 turnovers. Yeah. But the Texans, there's people talk about Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter, and Will didn't get a sack, but he got great pressure. And I like the fact when they rushed him up the middle one time and he knocked the center all the way back into Daniel Jones. I'd like to see more of that, moving him around. They swap sides, but all the great guys usually move around, like great receivers. Mm-hmm. They move around. You don't want them to have a game plan that a guy's going to line up in one spot. I remember Reggie White used to come up to the line after the defensive huddle and pat guys on the butt. In other words, move. I'm getting here.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see that with Anderson. But and the thing about the linebackers, they're so fast. They're light, they're fast, they're good tacklers. They hit hard. And the secondary, Kalen Bullock is playing really well in his second year. Yeah. And Jalen Petrie coming back as a slot corner. So he's listed as safety, but he plays corner. That was a big deal for him. He played well against the Colts, but they still need another safety. And right now, I can't imagine there's a better duo at cornerback than Derek Stingley Jr. and Kamari Lassiter. Stingley's already put together this great resume. And he didn't even have one pass thrown in his direction by the Colts, and it was the last play of the game. And of course, he tipped it away. So, and it's not just the rush that makes those two good. Those guys just got a lot of talent, and they're well coached too. Matt Burke, the defensive coordinator, and his assistants have done a tremendous job. And since D'Amico gave him play calling, the defense has been even better.
You can definitely tell how much the defense has definitely improved with Matt Burke. Would you when you said guys line up, they move around, they line up? I remember J.J. Watt used to do the same thing. He would be moving around on different parts of the lineup as well.
The left, the right, up the middle.
He did based on what he had seen with the person he was going against, and that would be part of the game plan, and other just about the feel. What he thought. If he got back and they said, man, the right guard's really struggling, he said, okay, I'm going to move into tackle. And he might do it on a play-by-play basis, and he might do it for a quarter. But the fact is, as long as he was able to abuse somebody and affect their protection schemes where they'd have to devote two guys to him, then he was doing his job the way it was supposed to be done. But I don't know any pass rushers who would rather be inside than outside, because outside you don't get in those scrums, and you don't get hit as much as you do. You don't get in the ribs as much. Although one time Watt had a right thigh that was bruised, it was black from where he'd been hit so many times. And he said when he jumped up, when he couldn't get the quarterback, and he jumped up to try to deflect the pass, the blocker immediately stuck his helmet in his thigh. And he was limping around like crazy. It looked like it'd been painted. It was so bad.
Jeez. I can imagine that. Full on force just right there to the thigh area. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
These guys, they don't wear thigh pads either, so I can only imagine how much that hurt.
Yeah, that had to be a mess. What was it? So we talked about the defense, we talked about the offense. Danielle Hunter, how much of an asset has he been for that Texans defense?
Well, when he got to come back home, and they paid him a lot of money.
Yeah,
now he's signed an extension, and he's making a lot of money. Speaking a lot of money, they have to decide. Well, they don't have to. They will decide this offseason, I'm assuming, to extend Anderson and Stroud.
Yeah.
And they have to ask themselves, do we want to pay CJ Stroud $60 million based on what we've seen this season? I wouldn't do it. I'd let him play another year. And they did that with Lamar Jackson. It worked out great. It got $275 million. If I was going to extend one of them, I would extend to Will Anderson Jr. because he's been consistently a great player. And then I would wait a year to do Stroud. But I don't know how they're going to do it. They might do both of them. They need the cap to go way up. But there's going to be – you have to pay the piper somewhere. And Hunter is invaluable. And one of the good things about Danielle, like Will, he's really good against the run. Most of the time, they do a good job of setting the edge. Anderson gets caught out of position on the edge because he's so eager to take off and rush. I don't know why teams don't do more screen passes to Will's side of the field to try to take advantage of his eagerness to get off the ball and get the quarterback. But by and large, he does a good job setting the edge, and Hunter does a great one. They didn't let Jonathan Taylor bounce outside but once for like his 12 yards, which was the longest carry of the game. They were very, very careful. But then they did throw that screen to Taylor for 33?
Yeah, it was like 30 plus, yeah.
When's the last time we've seen Texans throw a screen pass like that where you got blockers out there and it works perfectly? Like never?
Yeah, I can't recall a single time when
Foster was the running back the last time they did it. It's just
I was going to say Eric Foster, maybe.
Yeah, but it's just amazing. You see other teams do that, and I don't think they've even attempted it.
Yeah, it's
plenty of tight end screens last year, though.
Yep, tight end. I'm talking good old running back screen like they used to do with Arian, with the blockers out there in front of him, and it worked to perfection so many times.
So with this system,
excuse me a second, Carlos. Yeah. Woody Marks, who is an outstanding receiver, if he slipped out there in the flat and they got a couple of blockers under him, what do we think Woody would probably do? Gain 10 or 15 yards, but they haven't tried it.
Yeah. And I've seen the burst. I mean, we've seen the Woody Marks burst whenever whenever he goes off on the edge. Didn't he have a run that was, I can't remember off the top of my head how many yards it was, but he bursted for a good amount of yardage when he was able to get free.
I mean, it's another play. You don't see them running off the edge. It's always, halfback dive up the middle for a yard. I'm like, we've seen multiple times the edge is available if you get blockers in front of these guys, but nah, let's run it up the middle.
That's so frustrating.
It is.
When they ended up the middle and you got 1 yard, 0 yards. It's just, and then Kaylee keeps coming back to it, and you're wondering, what is he trying to do here?
Yeah. And it causes a lot of those drives. It causes those 3 and outs that are unnecessary. And then it's like, you have it's mind boggling, really. And then
what they claim their offensive identity is. We're a power running team. My brother in Christ, where? How?
Yeah.
You're not a power running team. You don't have the running backs for it. You don't have the offensive line for it. It's like fitting a square peg into a circle.
Yeah, you have Joe Mixon, which I don't know where he's at, and then you have, Woody Marks, and then you have Nick Chubb, right? And so, Nick Chubb, I power rusher, yes, but a while ago, I don't see Nick Chubb now being a straight, power rusher like he was back in the day.
They didn't expect that. They knew he wasn't.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
When Joe Mixon entered the witness protection program, they knew they needed somebody else, and Chubb was out there, and they signed him. And he's besides, he can still play, but he's also great in the locker room.
Right.
And they like having him around. I was kind of surprised when they cut Dameon Pierce. They also still have Dari Gumbawale. And but that is a position that needs attention, and it needs to devote resources to getting a guy with talent, whether it's trade or what. You've got to have a better running back. They haven't had a great running back since Arian Foster was here.
Right. 100%. What were your speaking of Dameon Pierce? I mean, I remember just sitting here and just thinking to myself, well, at first, he had a fantastic rookie season. Then the second season comes in. Yes, he changes in the with the offensive coordinator with D'Amico's when he came in, and then it just kind of felt like a regression for Dameon. But then I was like, maybe it's the new system that he's trying to get used to it. Third season comes around, you don't hear much from him now. He's waived by the Texans. Were you surprised?
He's hurt. They couldn't count on him consistently. Right. Seemed like he was always hurt. His best position seemed to be his kickoff returner.
Yeah.
And Dameon is a good straight ahead runner. Bobby Slowick's system did not fit for what Dameon Pierce did, but he kept his mouth shut. He's a good soldier. He busted his butt on special teams, whatever role they wanted. And then we thought this year maybe it'd be better, but he got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
And so they did cut him, and he's on somebody's practice squad. I forget.
I think I think got picked up by the Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's it. And so he did a lot for this organization, especially when they were really bad his rookie year. And so everybody wishes him the best. And but it's just another example. They still got to get a running back that is a threat to rush for 12 or 1,300 yards.
Rios, your thoughts on that?
I mean, honestly, I thought he's going to be one of those that's going to be cut during training camp. I mean, we didn't know what was going to happen with Joe Mixon, so I think that kind of gave him a little bit of life. But going into the training camp before the whole thing with Mixon, Mixon's running back 1, Nick Chubb at 2, Woody Marks at 3, Boone Wally for special teams at 4. Like, where does that leave Dameon Pierce? Kind of the odd man out. But with the Mixon injury, gave him a chance, but he just couldn't really take advantage of the opportunity he had because, I mean, there's a wide open spot for running backs, but you just couldn't, separate yourself from the pack. And I'm surprised it took this long, but I think they, kind of try to do right by him, but let him, pick his team versus trying to trade him somewhere.
Yeah, I think so too. It felt like it was coming, but you just didn't know how, and you just kind of expecting, okay, maybe he's going to pick it up in this system. Maybe this is going to happen. But yeah, like John said, I think, he just got lost in the shuffle, and that's what happened with Dameon. All right. So I want to talk a little bit. I think we shared enough about the Texans already, the performance against the Colts. What we're for the Chiefs, what we're going to probably see against the Chiefs. Key to I don't know if key to victory against the Chiefs. We talked about turnovers. They have to score they have to score probably on defense because the offense is probably
not going to score a lot.
Not going to score a lot. Anything else, Rios, that you would see as a key to victory for the Texans this Sunday?
As John Madden would say, score more points than the other team.
The way they started the Colts game on offense, specifically they couldn't even line up right.
Yeah,
and that was embarrassing. It was embarrassing to everybody, D'Amico, Kaylee, the players. And one thing I love about J.J. Watt, everybody thought he'd be a homer for the Texans. He was ripping their ass at the end of the first half with that terrible strategy that D'Amico wouldn't own up to. And you wonder, what in the world were they thinking? And I thought JJ did a great job on that game, talking about bad calls by officials. Colts fans need to get a drink, have a drink. In other words, a whiskey, because they were getting some bad calls. Yeah. And so I thought JJ was great, and he criticized them right off the bat. They should have been. And but they got it together. So I would say, don't do stupid stuff. Yeah. Know if you're on the line of scrimmage. The worst penalty in history is a brain dead lining up in the neutral zone. All you've got to do is look at the ball. That penalty is so inexcusable. And one reason they traded Tunsil, and those second and fourth round picks are looking better and better with every Commander's defeat, is they got tired of all those penalties that set them back. So don't commit pre-snap penalties. It's going to be loud at Arrowhead, the sea of red. Everybody will be drunk. They've been drinking all day.
Yeah.
And so don't do that. Try to score first. Don't let the Chiefs get the upper hand and get the fans so much more fired up. Andy Reid's acting like, we got this one. They haven't been in this situation, and I'm sure the Chiefs will probably win, but I thought the Texans were going to lose to the Colts. I don't mind seeing them lose when they play well and don't do stupid things and don't make bad coaching decisions like the end of the first half, and then you can't fault them. But I'll guarantee, how long will it be before they get a pre-snap penalty? First series, second series, first half, never. I don't think if the over-under was 0, I think everybody would take the over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's the first play of the game. False start, yeah.
You know, it's
Trey Brown doesn't get a lot of false starts because he can't move quick enough.
Oh, there you go. Speaking of that play right before the half where it was just absolutely no, not trying to go. It was like you were trying to go for the 3 points. I was texting. I was like, "What's happening right now? There's no hustle. There's no getting to the line.
Huddling up.
What's that?
Instead of going with a no huddle.
Yeah.
With a no huddle, you had 2 timeouts.
Yeah.
And I remember JJ said, I hope they're not just waiting,
right,
having the ball first in the third quarter. And D'Amico goes, well, we didn't score. We had the ball first in the third quarter. And I'm like, oh my God.
I know. I told Rios, I was like, oh my gosh, you had a chance to get 3 points
easily, and then 3 on the next drive. That's 6 points right there. No,
those are points that if you score right before the half and it puts you more ahead of them, that sends a message to the other team. It deflates that momentum that they had going and that confidence.
Your strategy on offense, because now they're going to abandon the run at that point, but they're down by more than 1 score.
Yeah,
let's just keep it between 3 points because we got this.
If they get 21 points, they'll win the game, because if they got 21 points, they would be 10-2 right now.
Yeah.
It's just those little things, those things that just eventually start adding up, and it's just like it makes you question certain things. Like it's like what is happening? Why is there no sense of hustle? Why are the Texans not going up? Why are the mistakes, the lack of hustle, sometimes the lack of discipline, for goodness sake, it's just is mind-boggling. I'm wondering what's
great way to put it.
Yeah.
Like if your offense was consistently putting up over 30 points a game, okay, maybe we could take a couple plays off because we'll make it up. But when you struggle to score more than 20 points, like, come on, you take the points. Like,
Get so tired of them getting close to the goal line. Incomplete. Run up the middle for 0. Incomplete. Here comes Fairbairn.
yeah. Basically, once they get to the 20-yard line, like, oh, okay, it's going to be a field goal. Let me go, grab a snack because they're not going to do anything on offense. And
Once they get in the red zone, the defense has them right where they want it.
Yeah. If you right at the 10-yard line, oh no, here we go. it's going to be Fairbairn. Get ready.
It's over. Fairbairn start warming up.
Yeah, get that leg warm. All right, so I think we covered a little bit of our bases of the Texans now. I want to switch over a little bit of college football talk. This past weekend, John, I got to go to your old stomping grounds at Baylor, and I covered the U of H versus Baylor game. Pretty dominant, and then they just started. It was kind of going back and forth, and then Cougars pull off with a victory at McClain Stadium, 31-24. It was it was a good game. it was a fun game, and Cougars are up there. They're back in the AP polls at I think they're at 21 right now.
Are they? Oh, okay. Yeah, they've been at 25 for a good chunk of the season.
Yeah.
Willie Fritz is a good example for every team that needs a head coach.
Yes.
You make the right decision, and you're going to know it. Willie's been a winner everywhere he's been. So what if he's older? And I thought he'd need 2 years. I had no idea they'd go 9-3 with a chance to win 10 with a bowl, and unbeaten on the road. That's just amazing. Unbeaten on the road. And Connor Wigman's a good quarterback, not a great quarterback. They got a great quarterback coming in from Legacy High School in spring. And so they've got commitments. And I would imagine the fact that Willie's turned it around so quick, there's going to be guys from Houston at other schools who are unhappy. And instead of looking around the country, they're going to look back at their hometown.
Yeah.
And they're going to see about U of H. And I'll bet they not just do great in recruiting, I bet they do great in the portal. And next year they compete for the Big 12 title that Texas Tech and BYU will play for. It's hard to beat a team twice, but Tech is great. Tech's games are so boring. One of my good friends, Scott Nethery, is a big Tech fan. He plays baseball. He played baseball there. He's a producer on a documentary we've been working on for over a year. And I tell him during the game, my God, the Red Raiders are so boring. You want to see a good game, switch over to U of H and Baylor. It's a terrible game, but at least it's called close.
Yeah.
And I was hoping Baylor would fire Dave Aranda and hire Eric Morris at North Texas. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. Eric Morris's quarterback, Drew Mestemaker, is a big-time freshman and a big-time NFL prospect. Now, I'm guessing he's going to go to Oklahoma State. But Baylor can't fire Aranda because they're trying to hire an AD because Mack Rhodes left him in a terrible spot.
Yep.
Aranda better make sure to send him a Christmas card. Otherwise, Aranda would be out of there.
Yeah.
Baylor's going to have a terrible season next year with a dead man walking at the head coach. Recruits are bailing on him already. You're not going to get transfers coming in the portal unless you way overpay them. And you won't get coaches coming in knowing they could be out of work in a year. But U of H won. Now they hopefully they'll win their bowl game and go and win 10 games, be 10-3 in Willie Fritz's second season. It was tremendous. And then, of course, there was that game in Austin. And even though the Aggies hated losing to the Longhorns, they're better off losing that game. Yeah. Now they don't play in a conference championship game. They don't have to play Georgia. And they can rest and rehab and then host a game at Kyle Field in the first round. First year they've allowed that. And there'll be 105 or 6,000 Aggies in that stadium. Playing, and all the teams that had buys last year lost. So I would want to play in the first round, especially at home. And the biggest surprise to me about A&M and Texas, other than the fact Texas had a running game for the first time this year, was they didn't even come close to setting the all-time record for this capacity at the game. Yeah. Twice last year, Texas and Georgia played. They drew 106,000 and change. This one was 103,000 and change. And I'm thinking, What's up with that? I thought sure the Longhorns would set their all-time record against them. And now, of course, Steve Sarkisian's lobbying like a politician, doing everything he can, get all the media behind him. He believes that they should get into the CFP, which they're not unless a 2-loss team above them gets beaten in a conference championship game. Other than that, the Longhorns probably going to the Citrus Bowl.
Yeah. It's funny when you said the amount of people, like 103, 100 something. Like, it's funny because I went to the Texas A&M game, covered the South Carolina game. They had 108,000 plus at an 11 a.m. game.
It's wild.
Isn't that amazing? That sounds like Michigan.
Yeah.
But I still don't understand Texas. I thought for sure that game would get beat to 2 Georgia crowds last season.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't understand that either. When I saw the crowd, when I read the capacity, I was like, okay, that's odd. Like I said, at A&M, 11 a.m. game, 108 plus. That was intense. Yeah. But no, I agree with you. I think they're better off in that because Georgia is, Georgia.
Great.
It's great. Yeah, it's great.
Consistently great year after year.
Yeah. I wanted to also talk to you about the Heisman. So you have Fernando Mendoza, you have Diego, you have Pavia, you have Julian Sayin, Jeremiah Love. You have all these. Is there anyone you think has the upper edge right now on your end, John?
Well, I would say Fernando Mendoza because his team is unbeaten. He's played great. He's a top NFL prospect. Could be a fight over him to see who takes him first.
Yeah.
If the Titans don't blow it, they'll have the first pick 2 years in a row. They like Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Maybe they could trade it and get more picks to help them rebuild. I see the experts saying that this is a bad year for quarterbacks. And who am I to argue with the experts, but I don't believe it because so much of where you're drafted does not depend on what you do during the season. Yeah. It's what you do in shorts and T-shirts. First of all, when you go to practice at the Senior Bowl, it's the last time you got to get hit. Yeah. Then you have the combine, pro days, private workouts, meetings in which you can impress people. Mendoza is a very, very impressive talker, leader, and it also depends on who comes out. And I'm wondering if he and Sayin don't play very well in the game, say Ohio State beats them 13-6. And the voting is, I believe, next week. We'll know on Sunday, Pearl Harbor Day, about who's in the CFP. And Jeremiah Love is by far the best running back. But in their 2 losses, he didn't do squat. If you want to win a Heisman, you got to be consistently great. And when your team's down, you got to come through. And he didn't. And so Diego Pavia has done more for his team statistically.
Yeah.
Raised them up from where they were. And even though they were good last year, they're great this year.
They're great this year, yeah.
If Mendoza plays great and they upset Ohio State, I would probably give it to Mendoza. But right now, I would give it to Pavia because what he's done, not just this season when he's been fantastic, but what he's done to lift up one of the worst programs in the country to now being a power in which Clark Lee just got a monstrous extension. So I would say Mendoza, if he plays great and they beat Ohio State, but I'd say if he doesn't, Pavia, I'm giving the Heisman to Diego Pavia.
I agree. I think if they beat Ohio State, I think you have to put Fernando Mendoza there. Pavia is just playing out of his mind right now. Help build Vanderbilt from what they were. They brought it up to this level now. Statistically, like you said, he's just been amazing. I think he's over 4,000 yards, if I'm not mistaken.
I said last year I want Cam Scatterbo on my team.
Yeah,
because of the kind of player he was. Plus, I loved his name. Just rolls off the tongue, Scatterbo. And I want, if I'm in the NFL, I don't care if Pavia is closer to 5'9", even though they list him at 6. I want him on my team. And just because he's such a winner, he's such a leader. If you had to do him like Taysom Hill, I don't care. If you just had him charging down the field on special teams, but that's the guy I want.
Yeah. Right now I would say it was, Mendoza is up there, but with Pavia's performance, it's kind of been going up and down between those two. I agree that Fernando and the Hoosiers have to beat Ohio State for him to get up there, because I think, I can't remember. Was his Purdue performance? I don't think his performance against Purdue was that memorable, and I think he had to really just step it up in every single performance to just keep it up there. But Pavia has been just kind of topping him off and showing out on the performances. So
this time next year, we're all going to be talking about Julian Sand for the Heisman.
Yeah,
maybe the first pick in the draft.
I think so too. Yeah,
overarch easily, because right now he's looking more like a third-round pick. If even that.
Do you have any favorites on there, Rios, for the Heisman, or any picks?
No, I agree with both of you guys. I think it's really going to come down to the Ohio State game. If he really wants to put himself over the edge to win the Heisman, got to do it against Ohio State.
Yeah.
Especially after they beat Michigan this past week. They've lost the last 4 or 5 in a row to them.
They lost 5 in a row, and they won. They won in the snow, and they won at the Big House, and it was impressive. This Ohio State has the best defense I've seen.
Yeah.
And they do have talent on offense. My God, the receivers, the quarterback, the running back, they got a lot of talent. But that defense, Matt Patricia, it was a great hire by Ryan Day to hire Patricia, who was not a college coach. He was a bad NFL head coach with Detroit, great coordinator with Bill Belichick with the Patriots, but he has done a fantastic job at Ohio State.
Yeah.
All of college football right now.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit, because I know one of the guys that so I'll be covering the Big 12 championship game this weekend against BYU and Texas Tech. One of the guys that I'm going to be looking at is a guy that's basically, I wouldn't be surprised, obviously, if he goes to the NFL next season. Linebacker Jacob Rodriguez for Texas Tech. What a phenomenal season he's had.
He has, and they have 3 of their front 7 could be first-round picks, 2 pass rushers, and Rodriguez. And one of the reasons everybody likes Rodriguez, a former quarterback, is because he's a great leader. Yeah. He's everything you want in a linebacker. He can drop into coverage. He's got really good hands. He attacks. He's a sure tackler. And the money that they have spent at Tech, thanks to Cody Campbell, who has sold 2 companies for billions, and he tells them, whatever you need, just let me know. And I said on my show in Waco, Baylor needs to give him an honorary doctorate degree. And maybe he'll just give a few million to Baylor to spend on players. But that is, Joey McGuire just got an extension. Joey was at Baylor under Matt Rule. Tech made a really good hire, but they have been great. I'm not saying they're going to win the national championship, and hopefully all the bye teams don't lose again like last year.
Yeah.
Hard to beat a really good team twice, but they're fired up at BYU because a couple of days ago they thought they might lose Shiitake to Penn State. And then they said some Mormons and some wealthy billionaires who are Mormons decided to ante up. And so the players will be really fired up that they know he's staying. And I look for it to be a great game on Saturday. I'm looking for Friday night, North Texas against Tulane in New Orleans. And you have 2 coaches, Eric Morris and John Sumrall. They guys are still coaching. And people will go, well, why? If they can stay and coach, why couldn't Lane Kiffin stay and coach? Well, number one, you're in the same conference. It's one of your chief rivals. You know, you can't stay there. And but in this one, North Texas hired Neil Brown. Who's been at UT, and he had coached at Troy where he was great, and West Virginia where he was mediocre. But they moved quickly to get him. But I think it's great that those 2 guys are there, and the winner ought to be in the CFP. And I'm hoping it's Eric Morris and Tech, so we can see Drew Mestemayer play another game.
No, I agree. It interesting for sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to those two. The Big 12 one is big again because what you mentioned earlier, earlier this season, Texas Tech beat BYU, and I think they took the undefeated streak from BYU, if I'm not mistaken, when they played
They
against each
did.
other. Yeah, they were the only two undefeated.
Their only loss was Arizona State when they had their backup quarterback in, and Tech's good. I mean, Tech's great.
Yeah,
And I thought sure A&M would beat Texas. Then
yeah,
I forgot same old A choke like crazy. And but ultimately, as I said earlier, I think it'll be good for them. And I'm fired up about the playoffs. But I can't wait. I hate conference championships. It's not fair. If you have to play in a conference championship, what if Alabama loses a third game to Georgia? And then Texas has got 3 losses, and Texas' schedule was tougher. Do they drop Alabama out of the CFP and move the Longhorns in?
right.
What if Alabama loses by 15 or 20? Then do they drop them and the Longhorns go in? Hunter Yurchek from Arkansas took Mack Rhodes' place as the spokesperson for the playoff committee, said today it's not Ohio State that's having an effect on the Longhorns. It's the Florida, because they got dominated. And he talked about stats. They only rushed for 50. They had 2 interceptions. And so, in other words, that was a bad loss. He didn't mention they barely beat Mississippi State and Kentucky on the road. But as a proud Baylor Bear, I would love for the Longhorns to be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, there you
Have
go.
all of my friends whining like little babies.
No arguments here. I wouldn't mind seeing them on the outside either.
All right. So, John, I know we don't really cover the Astros, but I know that our guys do. What were your thoughts on what were your thoughts so far on the Astros during the offseason? Moves that you like, moves that you didn't like. What do you think?
Let's see. It won't take long to moves that I like because there's 0. And moves that I don't like. We knew Framber Valdez was gone.
Right.
There was no question. But one that got me and still does and will is trading Mauricio Dubon, who was popular in the clubhouse, beloved by the players, loved by the media. Fans loved him. Everybody loved Dubon. He could play any position and be good at it. No, he was not a great hitter, but when he came up, and you at least knew he wasn't going to chase a ball that was so outside as in Beaumont, like Diaz and Altuve do. And they trade him to save money. And they get a shortstop. They don't need a shortstop. And from the Braves. And Dana Brown. One of the things he said, well, didn't know where they'd have a spot for him. Like, we're not going to get hurt all year. We're going to have an injury-free season, and we're not going to need a Dubon anywhere. That was one of the dumbest statements I've ever heard. You're going to need Mauricio Dubon at some point. It's like Marwin Gonzalez when they let him get away. I hate that. When you got guys that can do multiple things and do them well, you keep them. You don't let them go. And they said they think he's going to make $6.5 million, and they can apply that to another player's salary. What? The guy from Korea, the KBL league, who's coming here, Weiss, who bombed out in the major leagues and had a couple of decent seasons in South Korea, he's going to automatically be in the rotation. They're already saying that. How is it? How do you know? He might pitch like he did when he was here before. All the pitchers, I've seen them, they're considering in the media, they're all older.
Yeah.
You know, if they get an old first baseman again, I'm going to projectile vomit. The next first baseman they get better be in his 20s. How about developing a first baseman so you don't have to waste so much money on Abreu and now Christian Walker, who was a big disappointment till right at the end of the season. So I haven't seen anything they've done that's impressed me. Hopefully they will, because I've been a Astro fan since the first pitch of the first game in 1962, and that 8-year run was incredible. But it's no reason you should go back and be a terrible team like you used to be.
All right. Well, John, I want to thank you for taking the Oh, go ahead, Rios.
Real quick. So we traded Dubon because he wasn't a great hitter for a guy who's the
They traded
worst.
Dubon because they think he's going to get $6.5 million in arbitration.
They traded him for a guy who's the absolute worst hitter by every major statistical category when it comes to hitting. I'm like,
He'll fit right in.
why?
I hope he chases a lot of pitches so he'll fit right in. Don't get me started on Altuve's base running or his chase rate, or Yainer Diaz. I thought was going to be really good this past season after hitting 299 and 20-something homers, and he was okay. But that guy swings at so many bad pitches, it just drives you crazy.
Yeah. All right, John, I appreciate you taking the time to.
My pleasure, guys. I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Likewise, man. Anytime, it's always a joy when you're here. You give us a lot of insight, a lot of different ways of seeing things that maybe most of us don't. So again, appreciate you coming along.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Have fun going to Lubbock, Carlos. It might be cold and windy, so make sure you take a jacket.
Oh, we'll do. Yeah, we'll do. All right, John. Thank you again for showing
pleasure,
for
guys.
us on the show.
That'll
be it for us this week, guys. Join us next Tuesday, and we'll give you a little bit of insight of what happened at the Big 12 championship. And of course, we'll see what happened with the Chiefs and the Texans on Sunday Night Football. That'll be it. See y'all next week. Peace.
Tell them bring on the blitz. 20 number dogs don't miss.